Come and draw this lovely kingfisher with me today in coloured pencils. Keep on watching. So welcome back to my art studio. In today's video we're going to be doing part 1 of drawing this lovely kingfisher. So I'm going to show you how to complete all of this, and then I've got a selection of pencils that I'm using and some really special ones that I'll explain, and these were the special birthday ones from the colour pencil shop. There's 5 of the pencils that I'll be using in this drawing, and here they are, and these are the Derwent Lightfast. Whilst I'm drawing I figure out that they are the Derwent Lightfast. I haven't quite got the colour names, but I'll have a little look as we go. Yeah, so enjoy. This one's going to be maybe like part 1, maybe like part 2. Hopefully we'll do this bit, maybe the wing, and then part 3, and then it's sitting on a little grassy sort of stump like that. So we'll try and get that done too. So I think it'll be quite a long one, and I'll just keep on doing each part as we go. So yeah, enjoy. Right, okay, I think you should be able to see a bit better now. Right, I'm just gonna get it to focused here. Right, so as we've got the shape, we're now going to go in and just make sure that we go round where this little highlight is, because we're going to leave that blank for now to make sure that we can get in the sort of lighter detail. In the eye, I like to use little small circular motions. I always find it's good to plot out the sort of darkest areas and get the eye in first. So we're not doing heavy pressure here, just going in lightly. Making sure we've got the eye shape correct. We can always sort of change it as we go. I'm actually going to sharpen my pencil just a touch, because we've got a little white bit that goes, let me show you one here. We've got this little white bit here that we want to make sure that we get in. So we'll just go round this little bit, and the feathers will be coming off here. So this is my first kingfisher that I've drawn. I've been meaning to draw a kingfisher for ages actually. I thought this one would be quite a nice one for a tutorial. I think they're such beautiful birds. So we'll define a little bit around the beak as well. So we're just going slow and steady, making sure that you're looking at the reference photo, because even though you might have done a line drawing, they don't always sort of copy over exactly. And then you've got the little nostril in there. only ever seen a real kingfisher in the wild once. I have seen them at bird sanctuaries and, you know, like RSPB places, but it's like they feed them, so they come in. But actually in the wild, I've seen one once, a little flash of orange as it was fishing. It's pretty cool. There's a little dark sort of triangle here underneath the beak that we're getting now. And we'll plot in the underneath of the beak. Not until you start drawing beaks you realise how intricate they are. This area here is quite dark too, so we'll plot in a few of the sort of directions of the feathers. Really, really important that you always pay a lot of attention to the sort of direction of how the feathers are actually sort of growing on the bird's head or animal's head, whatever you're drawing. Even these sort of base layers, it all adds, sort of helps with the effect. Sometimes, like looking at the initial reference, you might feel a little bit daunted, sort of looking at the whole thing thinking, oh my goodness, that's a lot to draw. But if you just break it down into little pieces, it can be a bit more manageable. The feathers here start to sort of get like a stripy feel to them. So this dark sepia will help and act as a bit of a shadow when we start layering up the blues and the greens sort of through the crest. Sometimes when it's quite a complicated pattern, I find it quite useful to look back at my line drawing, like where I've sort of traced it, just so I can see what line means what, because sometimes when you're drawing the whole thing, you know, you might forget what you've done up here when you're like going down here and what line is where. So, right, let's go back into this eye now. There's a really small, thin, lighter line around the eyeball. And what kind of looks like little eyebrow. So leave that a little bit out. Coming round. It's almost like a little almond shape. A little seed. Sometimes when I do put in the little eyebrows here, when I look back at it, I can it makes it look a bit angry, like if you've done it a bit too diagonal, but just don't worry about that. It'll all come together. Important that we get the lightness around that little eye. You know what, this would actually be a really nice black and white drawing. But we're going full colour today. Sometimes when I'm drawing, I get new ideas for different things. But you could draw this in colour and then scan it in and create a black and white print. I'm still using really light pressure. Oh, see there, I think that needs to be a little bit sharper. So I'm going to take my electric just lift that bit out again because it is actually a little bit sharper. Definitely more of a point there. And I reckon this was taken in amongst a load of trees because you can see lots of sort of larger shrubs in the shadow of the eye. I've just zoomed you in just a touch closer as well. Right, so we're just getting in these shadows. Where there's sort of like a stripiness. Making sure we're looking at line drawing, where we've plotted these little lines, and also where we've drawn them on the reference photo, like if you trace them. We just want to make sure that we've got all the little bits of detail in just to help us. So if we plot in these stripy bits first, it will mean when we go in with the colour, it'll make it a little bit easier because we'll know where the darkest parts are. We want to keep all the strokes up here super light. It's really, really fluffy on the top. We'll put a little bit of shadow down here onto the beak. There's a darker point on the underneath the beak. That'd be good to get in. So I've got my reference photo printed out next to me on a piece of paper like this, but I've also got a tablet sort of just out of shot there, and then that sort of will give me a bit of finer detail. Oh, I'm already excited about all the colours that are going to go in this one. We might even need some browns, I think, to kind of go in here. And this is almost like a muddy green in here. I can definitely see some walnut browns in there, so I'll make sure I get that colour out. Right, we'll go back in here. Sometimes you can get a bit lost when you're doing like repetitive patterns like this. So sometimes I put my thumb on the reference photo of where I need to be kind of aiming my strokes. So that little bit is dark. Remember, this is, you don't have to be exact. I mean, as long as you're getting that sort of mottled look. So you've got to imagine the feathers are, that each individual feather is building up this pattern. So as long as you're getting the feel of it, because I think you'd go a bit doolally if you try to do every single stroke. So I'm going to take out a little bit of the graphite here. I'll just dab that away. Sometimes when I'm doing really intricate stuff like this, I kind of like to bounce around a little bit of a portrait. So if I'm getting a bit lost in what I'm doing up here, I might sort of come back down here and then go back up again. Or like go make yourself a cup of tea and then come back to it. Or a coffee, if you're a coffee drinker like me. I do like a cup of tea, mind. But yeah, coffee is definitely needed when you've got little kids or a very, very busy life. Right, what's going on here? We've got this little blobby bit, and then it's this little bit in there. Sometimes I like to just sort of go over the graphite lines just with the dark sepia, because when I've done my line drawing, I've kind of highlighted those darker areas. We're going to concentrate on the head and the beak for now. So we've got a little bit, and it comes out from the eye, and then it's sort of hitting over here. I can even see some sort of darker purples around here like more of a mauve. There's a really good Caran for that actually. I'll probably use this one here, the Violet Grey. That one's a good one. I'll pop that one to the side. So even though I've printed out the picture here, it's really handy to have it digitally, because unless you've got like, you know, the best printer in the world, a printout is not going to be the same as a digital picture with like a really good display. So I was very, very lucky for Christmas. I got a new tablet and it's got a much better display than my previous one. The previous one was sort of one that we had sort of knocking about. Violet used to use it when she was little, you know, she wanted to play a couple of games, and we just had this old tablet lying around. You know, with electronics, sometimes it's hard to know when to let them go. So I was just using it, but my husband noticed that the display wasn't that good on it, and he didn't want me straining my eyes. So yeah, it was very, very kind of him to get me a nice little tablet for Christmas. And in the reference photo, I can't see the purples as well here as I can in the actual digital image. So it's already paying off. Sort of looks like there's a couple of like darker feathers sort of right at the top here, where I think it looks like the feathers maybe got a little bit wet. So you can just mark them in a little bit darker. Right. Start just building up a bit more depth now. Still sticking with the old dark sepia, but just darkening up some of these areas. Now with eyes, I always like to get in like a dark indigo in there. So I think before we do the darkening up, I'll just go around this bit. Let's put a light, a bit shady in there. I'm going to get the Silver Grey in the Caran. Let me just sharpen this. I'm going to put this, the Caran Silver Grey. I'm going to put that in the eye. In there. And I'm going to get a super sharp white. Right, back for, let me go get a super sharp white. Right, just got a super sharp white in the Caran, and I'm going to just put this all over the eye in small little circles. This will help blend and burnish and hopefully achieve a sort of a nice glossy look to the eye. And then making sure that there's no transfer on the end, I'm going to go round the outside just to make sure that it is white. Just means that if we get this little layer down, if we do go over that bit, we'll be able to use an eraser just to lift it off and there's something underneath it. And then we'll put a little bit of white in here. blend down here. Right, I don't want to use too many colours, so I think what we'll do, try and put some of the blue, the bluish turquoise that I'm going to use in the feathers in the eye. That will help tie the portrait together, but it's going to be like an underlayer. So we're going to cover this up with the dark sepia, but the blue underneath will act as an undertone, which will help give the darker colours a bit more depth. It looks crazy, but bear with me. Oh look, you can see already, like this is such a good colour for this. Oh, whilst we've got it in our hand, let's just put a few little feather marks in there. Sometimes I think it's nice just to start building up a portrait as quick as possible, just so you can see it kind of come to life a bit. I feel like I get a little bit more motivation when I can see a portrait like coming to life quicker. Oh, right. Now, dark sepia. Now lots of little circles. So with coloured pencils, like the way that you're moving the pencils is really important. So if you're doing feathers, you want to go in the direction of the feather. If you're doing something that you want it to be sort of smooth, you want to do lots of like little circles because you're trying to push the tooth down of the paper. If you're doing like hair, you do like a stroke, but then you're tapering it off at the end to make it look more hair-like. There's a little bit in there that we don't want to lose, so we'll just get the white and make sure that stays in. And there's a couple of little lines. What are these little line bits called on birds' eyes? I draw them all the time. These little bits. Right, let's get a darker colour to enrich. So you could use the black in the Polychromos. My favourite black to use is this Noir Black from the Pablos and Caran. I just find this just a really nice one. But yeah, you could definitely use the Polychromos black for this. I just find this one's like a little bit blacker. And I find coloured pencil, sometimes it's getting the darks dark, which sounds easy on paper, but it can be quite difficult when you're layering up and you're trying to get those undertones right. So in the eye we can see it's probably like some trees or bushes, like the wildlife around the Kingfisher. And this reference is from a lovely lady on Instagram called, I'll link her down below, but the reference photo is from her. It's KCB Photography. I'll look it up. But yeah, she's got loads of lovely wildlife photos. So I asked her if she would mind if I could use some of her lovely photographs, and she's like, yes, that's fine. So yeah, it's really important that if you're going on Instagram and you're finding, you know, artwork there, like some really beautiful photographs, I always ask the permission of the photographer, because, you know, if you were to post it on social media and then perhaps like you got some work from it, if you are a professional artist, or if, you know, it got recognised, or just to cover your own back, like it's a bit of a faux pas not to ask. And it literally is just a message, and people are so nice. I find Instagram quite a nice, friendly place. I think that's probably why I quite like it on there. Right, there's a little bit of shadowing in there. Make sure we get that. Right, I'm going to move on to a walnut brown of the Polychromos. Okay, this one. Because there's a bit of brown in here. This could do with a sharpener. Actually. Oh, I'm trying not to move because my chair's like super creaky. Can you hear it? Doesn't help that the chair gets bounced on quite a bit by a 5-year-old. Right, I can also see a little bit of green as well. So I think what colour we shall use is, I feel like I use this colour a lot, but it's so good. It's the earth green Polychromos. I'm just going to quickly sharpen this. I'm going to sort of really lightly put a little bit of green in here, and then go up into the sort of darker areas. It's almost like you're hardly putting anything down. But it will help the green of the brown come through, if that makes sense. Obviously brown is made up of all the colours, so if you add colours that are within it underneath it, it'll help those ones kind of come out a little bit. So one thing about the Polychromos is they have a really, really good selection of browns in there. It is such a good set. I would highly recommend that if you're starting out on coloured pencils, like get the Polychromos, they're really good. And then just pick up the Luminance like as and when you need them. I've never bought like a whole set of the Luminance or the Pablos. I just like slowly gathered a bit of a collection, just, you know, different, if I get commissions and they need certain colours, and then I might think, oh, I'll add on a couple of sort of, I call them fun colours, but, you know, like brighter ones just to try out, because then it just makes it a little bit cheaper then if you're just buying them here and there. Oh, and how much money I've spent on coloured pencils in the past year. Ooh, probably quite a bit. Obviously, like each commission can take, you know, if I'm doing like, right, I just had to change the battery because it just died. So I can't remember what I was saying. So we'll just carry on with this brown in here. Really, I had a full battery when I first started this, actually, but I was sort of faffing around with trying to get you the right distance and so that you can, you know, see it clearly, because I wouldn't want to create a tutorial and then no one be able to see it. That would not be very good. So I'm just going to go over the nostril and then blend the brown into the dark sepia. Oh yeah, I did the green, didn't I? I remember. And then the walnut over the top. So there's a few little sort of feathery little lines you can make in here. And the feathers come round. So trying to make the darkest colours the darkest they can be by layering over some of your other colours onto the darkest will just enrich them. So if you just put plain black down, it actually wouldn't be the darkest. You need to enrich them. Put a couple of these little, I don't know, what should we call them? Eye lines? It's not on the eye, it's like the eye. I suppose it's where the eyelid would come over. I think this tutorial is probably going to be quite a few different parts as we slowly build up. So I was just saying that I think this picture will be quite a few different parts as we sort of slowly build up the whole image. So I'll just sort of do them part 1, part 2, and just see each week, and then you can slowly build it and slowly draw it together. And I've got some exciting colours to use a little bit later on. So there's a really good colour pencil shop called the Colour Pencil Shop, and sort of towards the end of last year they released a little birthday set. Let me show you them now, of these 4 colours, 5 colours in fact. So I'm going to go in with actually the, what's the name of this one? I'm not sure. I think these are the Derwent Lightfast ones. Are they? Yeah, I think so. But yeah, they've got like a little 10 years of the Colour Pencil Shop. So I will find the colour names for these. But this sort of burgundy magenta is going to be really good in this little bit here, sort of along from the nostril. And there's a green I could have used instead of the earth one, so I'll use that one for now. And Emma at the Colour Pencil Shop is doing a little exhibition of all the works that have been made using this colour pencil set towards the end of January. So I'm hoping to get this one finished because it'd be nice to submit it. And then if people really like it, they could be like, oh, I'll do the tutorial. I'm sure these are the Derwent Lightfast, but I shall get back to you. I feel like I could just quickly Google it now. Hang on, I'm going to quickly Google it. Right, I've just quickly checked, and yes, Derwent made a special limited edition set. With the lovely pencil case, which is just behind me. It's so sweet. They came in this. I mean, that's so cute, isn't it? And yeah, they're the Derwent Lightfast, so super, super good pencils. I haven't used them loads actually. I've got a few that I've like added to my basket here and there. So I'm hoping that sort of doing this and using them, I'll be able to build up a bit more knowledge of, you know, what they're like, how they lay down. But yeah, so far so good. So just put a little bit of this red in here. Right, now we're gonna swap out this red and we're gonna go in with the Silver Grey. You could use the Polychromos Coal Grey 1 or 2 for this as well. If you don't have any of the Luminance, we're going to just move down onto the beak just to pop in the base layer. We'll just lift off some of the graphite so it's not too harsh when we, because if you go over it with your base layers, it's obviously really hard then to lift off because you've already sort of put a colour over the top. It's probably quite obvious, but it's a good one just to mention because I have come across it sometimes when I'm drawing. I get a little bit carried away and I think, oh, is that like a coloured pencil mark, or is that the graphite? And then I end up colouring over it, and then yeah, it's hard to lift out, or you've got like a really harsh line at the edge of your drawing, which is not ideal. So down here is more of an orange part of the beak. We won't take the silver grey all the way down, but we will blend out the dark sepia that we put underneath. There's even like a little greenish sort of tip to the end of the beak as well that we can put in a little bit later. I'm going to move up to some of these feathers just so we've got a nice base layer underneath. Go over this little light eyebrow bit and then over the red that we put in here, and this light grey we're sort of mixing it in, and it will be like you're using your paper as a paint palette, sort of to dull it down. So instead of using that violet grey from the Luminance, you can just mix them. Kind of going over where we put in all the dark sepia, where the sort of shadowy bits are. I think we're going to need some of that red in the beak as well. It looks quite purple. And under here it looks like the Kingfisher's just gone for a quick dip. Maybe catching a little fish. And some of the feathers are still a little bit damp. So they're, yeah, a little bit darker than be if it was like a real fluffy one. Right. Now look at this colour. I mean, earlier I used a bit of this one. What's this one called? Helio Turquoise. I'll get the names of these Derwent Lightfasts. But let's get a little bit of, this one's the perfect colour for in here. Oh wow, that's so vibrant. So this is actually my first time using this set of pencils as well. I've swatched them, but I mean, that's not the same as actually laying them down onto an actual piece. Oh wow, I'm really impressed about how vibrant that is. I've like hardly touching the paper as well. Sort of knowing how these pencils all work together as well, because it's, you know, it's, if you have just one set, you know that they're going to work well together, but when you're using different brands and different papers, you want to sort of start building up your knowledge of like which colours are best to use when, and which brands work better for different areas. So like for instance, the Polychromos hold their point really well. So if you're doing a lot of really fine work, sometimes it's better to use a polychromate. It's just because it's a little bit easier because they hold their point better. Oh, I love it when you get a bit of like colour down. This will be really good through the wing when we get down to that little bit. So I want to try and blend it into this brown, just so then the piece is cohesive. It's layering over the top nicely. Oh, it looks really nice. So sort of kind of going like in between where we put all our little dark sepia marks. And sometimes it's quite good to use these really like poppy colours as a base for other colours to go on the top, because they sort of just make them pop a bit more. So sometimes I use like a really bright orange, like an almost like it's almost like a neon orange, like underneath yellows or golden colours to like help them pop. I need to get rid of some of that graphite. I need to be a bit more careful around here because it's a little bit more like a darker, this sort of poppier green is a more up here. I love that she had like custom ones made as well. How cute. 10 years in the colour pencil shop. So it's a great shop as well if you're looking for art supplies. The packaging's always really, really good. I ordered like a massive bulk of pencils from there and they came like packaged really nicely with a little thank you note in them as well, which was, it's just a really nice touch. You know, it's like a real human being. Not that other stores are not a real human being, but you know, the certain large supply shops. mean, I do still love Amazon Mind. I mean, come on, you cannot beat next day delivery. Though, to be fair, these pencils came really quickly, and if I ordered from Jackson's, they always come really quickly, and they do have a delivery option, which is literally next day delivery, and their packaging, I would trust their packaging, these specialist art places, far more than over Amazon. I mean, they just literally leave in the bin sometimes. I've been really lucky actually. I've never actually ordered any art materials and they've arrived damaged. So yeah, I hear horror stories of people ordering sort of stuff and it arriving just totally trashed, which you'd be so gutted. Like even if they, you know, sent you new ones and you return them, you've still got to wait them. Right, I think we're done with that one. I could get a little bit carried away because that is such a nice colour. So, right, we'll darken up around the eye again. So this bit here, I think I need to darken right up because in the reference photo there isn't as much of a full circle around the eyeball. And coloured pencil is very much about going back and forward, back and forward. You know, you're building up one colour and then you're going back over it with, you know, the previous colour. But that's the only way that you can build up the depth in the colour. I think maybe that's why I really enjoy the slow process of it all. It helps me slow down a bit. Putting a few little details here now. I reckon I'm going to need a bit of yellow in this, you know. When you first look at an image, you think, oh, I need this colour, this colour, this colour. But then when you actually get into it, you need a lot more than you think. Obviously, like with a colour like a yellow, you obviously can't mix that one. So that's when a full set is quite handy because you can just pull out. This one's quite a good one from Polychromos, the cream. Just sharpen it. Just to put a little bit in there. Especially, you know, if you're doing your own work, you think, oh, I need this colour and this colour. If you do have even if it was, you know, Derwent, they do soft colour. That's quite a nice set, a bit cheaper. I've never used these, but Prismacolor as well. Just to have on hand a few extra surprise colours. Obviously, if you're following this tutorial, then I'll have a full list of all the pencils that I've used, so you can just pick them all up and not have to worry. And I think this yellow is going to be really nice underneath the orange to help keep it. Oh, I need to get rid of that graphite. A little tip, if you do get a bit overzealous with your colouring, you do go over like a graphite mark, you can always just maybe like add in a little extra feather mark or something, you know, to try and blend it out and cover it up. And throughout this I've been using nice soft pressure Don't go in too hard, because all you'll do then is destroy the tooth of the paper and you won't be able to add any more layers on. And you don't want that. Right, I've just popped a little bit of the yellow where I'm going to be putting the orange of the beak. Get that in there. Right, I can't see any yellow here. All this area is blue. Okay. Right, let's move down onto this bit here. So I've got this lovely orange from the coloured pencil shop. And oh, I wish I knew the colour names. I'll find the colour names. So I'm gonna make sure I'm really carefully going in here. And the yellow, the orange kind of comes down just a touch. You know what, I've never actually noticed this about kingfishers, that a little bit of their beak is orange. That's why I love sometimes just looking. It sounds so obvious, but you just gotta look, observe more when you're drawing, or you want to paint, or whatever creative medium, and you're trying to follow a reference material, or you've gathered some say if you're doing a still life objects, just look at them and draw what you see, not what you think you see. Because if I draw what I thought I saw, I'd never do a little bit of orange on the beak, because I suppose I've just never really looked this hard at a kingfisher before. Right, I'm going to move this orange. This is a really nice one. You know what, I'm really tempted just to quickly grab this from the Polychromos, just to see what it's like with it. You can see that's fairly comparable when it comes to the shade. We go back to this one. So this is the Derwent Lightfast. I feel like I've heard a lot more about these pencils, 2024. Maybe they're new, or new-ish, or they've rebranded them or something. Though I feel like that point is not quite sharp enough. So I might just... I've just sharpened it a tiny bit more with a craft knife. Well, it lays down really nicely over the Polychromos. I wonder if these are like a wax based. Hang on a sec. Oh, so these are actually oil based, like the Polychromos. So that's interesting. Because the Luminance, they're wax based, it's a bit creamier. Let me have a quick look, see what colours. Oh, Maybe this is Lightfast Amber Gold. I think that might be the colour of this one. Light Amber Gold. What's the poly code? Oh, cadmium orange. That's not. I like the fancy names. I'll just show you this one in here as well, just in case you don't have this set, because I know this set's actually sold out on the website now, but obviously you can buy the pencils all individually. I think I've been recording for like half an hour now, and we've only done this little tiny bit. It'll be so worth it though. It's going to be really nice. I think what I'm going to need to use in this orange patch over here is the Terracotta. This is a great one. I use this a lot, this Terracotta from Polychromos, Faber-Castell. And this is going to be really useful. Hang on, let me just put my hand in position. I'm trying to draw where you can see what I'm doing in defining some of these feathers that are coming out, because they're just a little bit darker. This is really good for like a chestnut fur. Robins as well. If you see this one, the shorter the pencil, obviously the more I use it. Yeah, that's nice in there. There's like a lighter patch here, so I'm actually going to go in with the yellow in a minute here. I'm going to just get a little bit more details here. Oh, it's going to look so great against the blue underneath. So the paper that I'm using is the, what's it called? I want to say Saunders Waterford. I live in Wales, and near here there's a place called Saundersfoot, which is near Denby. And I always want to say that, but it's Saunders Waterford, because I used to use, well, I do still use the Fabriano Artistico, but I've noticed a couple of the sheets that I've had recently, I don't know, they haven't been the same. And I know they did change the paper, the way it was made. I know they did change that, but when they changed it, I really didn't see much of a difference. So unless it's like new batch, old batch, I'm not really sure. But I really like this paper actually. It's slightly whiter than the Fabriano, which I prefer. Sometimes clients will ask for like a creamier paper, so I've got some older Artistico, the Fabriano, that I have used a few of the Christmas commissions on that. Sometimes like a white dog is quite nice to do on a cream. Of course you can, do white on white, but sometimes on a cream it's not really a cream, it's like an off-white. But this one's, so it's 100% cotton and it's hot pressed, which basically means it's sort of has a nice tooth to it. It's not a cold press paper. It's going to be a little bit better for, like, you're going to be more of a painter on that. And all the paper's sized as well, so you don't have to sort of faff around with that. Which basically just means it's ready to go. You can open it, get your piece of paper out, all done. And you just, you don't have to stretch the paper or put it on board or anything. Right, I'm going to pop in a little bit of yellow. I'm just going to make sure. Oh yeah, this yellow is blending out really nicely with the Lightfast. and a little bit of terracotta that I did. So I'll go back in with this one. I'm going to try and get this one to a sharper point at the Derwent with, oh, look at that. It's like a sword. Oh, that's really nice. I use the Derwent sharp point to sharpen that one. That's like a manual crank sharpener. See if it will hold its point well. It's really hard not to be heavy-handed when you're doing finer detail because you want to get the lines in, but often it breaks off the very tip of the pencil. That's kind of annoying. But I'm standing up to the test. You can see I'm leaving this little middle section because in the reference photo you can't see any feather marks on that little bit. So I just want to smooth this out a little bit. Oh, I'm really impressed with this Lightfast pencil. It's definitely harder. Harder, is that the right word? Definitely stronger, maybe is the better word, than the Polychromos. And it's blended out the polys underneath it. Well, if you think we've sandwiched it in between, really, haven't we? I always think of coloured pencils like a tiramisu of coloured pencils. They're layered, aren't they? The coffee. Oh, it would be coffee with me. The first dessert I think of is layered. Because you're layering all these different colours. Oh, that's really nice. So we've got 5 colours to use from the birthday set. This one's definitely a win. There's lots of orange sort of further down, so that one's going to be amazing. The next one that is this green. Hang on, let me have a little look. I have the page up now. Right, I think this is grass green. So if we layer it up, oh, what was the blue one called? Oh, turquoise green. Yeah. That. Oh, there's a little bit of, there's like, the Kingfisher is going to be sat on like a mossy stick thing. Like a perch. So this I think is going to be really good there, but I do quite like bringing up some of those colours up into the main body of the animal, or you know, whatever I'm drawing, because I just find if you have the green sort of right at the bottom and only there, sometimes if you just meld it with some of these other colours, it just helps bring the whole portrait together. One of my old art tutors back in GCSE sort of helped me learn all of sort of about making a piece cohesive, and I still remember it now. Because I want to make work that brings joy to people, gives people like warm fuzzy feelings. I love animals. So having like it easier on the eye. Oh, this one's really nice. The pigment is amazing of these colour pencils. Oh, I reckon we could probably put a little bit of green down here. If we blend it with the yellow. Okay, and the last one that we've got from this one, I think this is maybe dark turquoise. It could be. This one's going to be really useful. I'm going to sharpen this one like I did the orange. Right, so with this one we want to go over, remember when we did all the dark sepia at the beginning? Oh, hang on, I think we've got a wobbly lid here. Uh-oh, look at that. Oh, I had to sharpen it. Right, what was I saying? Right, we've got no wobbly leg now. So we're going to use this blue in little short movements, and we're going to go over where that dark sepia line. You see how useful it's been to have those darker lines there, because now when we want to go in with this lovely blue, we know where we're going. I think I'll come down here and then around. One of the main reasons why I work like how I do, I like to do one area at a time and concentrate on that little area, and I like to concentrate on areas that help bring the portrait to life quickly, because I think if you're not connecting with it straight away, colour pencils take so long that I feel like you might lose a bit of motivation if you can't see, you know. Oh, the doorbell's just gone. Hang on a sec. Sorry, just had to grab a little delivery there. My studio is sort of next to, I can see the front door, so I often just surprise delivery people by just poking my head out the window and being like, hello, rather than going like all the way around the front door. Bit lazy, I think, but so we have like delivery pictures of me at the window. I'm trying to leave some of these little areas sort of blank because there's a lighter blue in there that we use the turquoise in. We'll probably use the turquoise and like buff it out with the Caran white to make it a little bit lighter. So in this little area now where we had the brown, the walnut brown, we've layered up in our tiramisu of colours. We've got blue, green and red. Obviously mix them all together, you get brown, so it would just help enrich these colours. So the feathers on the top of the head, it's almost like a stripy, sort of spotty. But remember, we're just trying to capture like the essence of the animal. You know, I'm not looking for like every single tiny feather. And also, you don't have to be exact with colour. It's more about the tone. So yes, you do need the right colours, but not the exact match. You know, you're looking for the tone. If the tone's off, then it doesn't matter if you've got exactly the right colours. The portrait just is not going to look right. So when I'm talking about like the tones, so it's the official, you know, tone is colour that grey has been added to. You know, it creates all the different shades. But you've also got, you know, your tints, which are colours which have had white added to them. And then a hue of that colour. Which a lot of people talk about shade and hue as kind of part and parcel of the same thing. So just imagine, you know, the colour wheel. Here we go. So you're looking at this is the colour wheel. So you're just making sure that all of the right tones are being used, so that you're using the darkest of this colour and then the lightest in a different area. So yeah, just basically making sure that you've got the lightest in the right colours and the darkest in the right place. Because I mean, technically, shade is when you have a colour and then you add black. Tone is when you add grey. And then tint is when you add white, but I feel like they're kind of interchangeable, the way that people describe colour. Oh, this is the word I'm looking for. Values. Making sure your values are right. So your lightest to the lightest and your darkest to the darkest. I knew there was another word. Or tonal value. I suppose that's another way to, you might see it, you might hear it if you're like watching, you know, if you're doing other tutorials and things, you might hear of that tonal value. Like, what does that really mean? Because let's be honest, there's a lot of art chat out there. It's a bit, you know, sometimes it's hard to understand. Right, so I'm carrying on with this lovely blue. As you can see, I've gone over all where we did the dark sepia. And it definitely gets darker and more purpley over here. Purpley, very technical over here. So before I add any more of this blue in here, I'm going to put a base down of that silver grey. Oh no, graphite. I've already done that 3 times. Right, this bit down here is quite a bright white. So we want to make sure we're keeping that white, so we'll mark that bit off first. And where we went over the head bit with the silver grey earlier, I'm just gonna go over and blend out some of this lovely blue where it's gone down. So it's a little bit, you can still see the sort of tooth of the paper there, so just blend it out a little bit, which is common for like a darker colour. You can obviously just see the tooth a little bit more. Some artists really like to get rid of the tooth completely. Some like the way that it looks. I think with colour pencils you can, keep layering to desire, to achieve the desired effect that you want. Sometimes with colour pencils, if you think you're done, just blend something out and then you'll think, oh no, I'll add a bit more actually. Often when you think you're done, you probably need to blend something out and then go back in again. See how quickly the point dulls on these Caran dashes, the Luminance. They're great, but they're an expensive pencil. You could use, let me go get the cold grey one. Let me sharpen it. This is the cold grey one and the Polychromos, a fabulous grey range in that set. So a similar colour to the silver grey. So you could definitely swap this one out if you wanted to. I just thought I'd show you both of them. So if I layer it over this, you can see it's a little bit darker. Still lovely colour and great for this. I might even put a little bit of this cold grey in that eye bit. And a teeny bit in there. That is looking really good. So we need to, see, look, it looks great on the beak as well, this one. So we're going to go with the fabulous turquoise now, and we're going to try and pick out some of these feathers a little bit more. I'm going to sharpen this one again. I'm really loving how these are sharpening. I'm going to try and get the sort of more spotty look with this one. I wonder if I've got the white in this. Oh, I actually do have the white. I might try and blend this out with the white. It'd be great to find another really good white pencil, because the Luminance is so good, the white, but it costs quite a lot. Like you get through that one really quickly if you're burnishing and blending. So I'm sort of trying to go in between these darker areas. And in here. They're not as bright on this bit. I think with areas like this, you know, feel free to use a little bit of artistic freedom in order to create the look. So I'll show you with the Luminance. I'm just going to go over those bits that we've done, that lovely turquoise. Oh, they're working really nicely together. Wow, the Lightfast blends out really nicely with the Luminance. Oh, this pencil's such a dream. If you're only going to purchase a couple of these Luminance ones, get this bad boy. That is lovely. Oh, it's really nice to work with some bright colours as well. I love drawing sort of dogs and cats and horses and sort of mammals, but you know, obviously you don't get the colour variation as you do in birds. I did one insect last year. That was a bumblebee. That was really nice. I'd quite like to draw some more botanicals this year. Maybe I should do one for spring, maybe as a tutorial. A nice flower. If that's something that you'd be interested in, let me know. Like, what's your favourite flower? Oh, that is looking so good. I'm really hoping that if you are following along, you are really enjoying the process of this. So I'm going to go back in with the black now and try and define a few feather shapes. So let's start this corner of the eye. And what I do to try and keep to the sharpest edge of the pencil is like keep turning it. So do a couple of strokes, then turn. So where we did the dark blue, I'm going to go lightly on top of that, but sort of try and, it's almost like I'm pushing the pigment in and up to create that feathery look. There's a bit of a natural line here. I'm not pressing really, really hard. But we want to, you know, these feathers aren't sort of striped bands as such. We need to sort of start breaking them up now. So taking a few of the lines over where we've done our turquoise will help diffuse it. Remember we had that little eyebrow piece in there. I'm calling it an eyebrow. Do birds have eyebrows? Yeah, they must. Yeah, well, this one does. We'll just pop a couple in the orange. I'm going to just sort of softly feather out a little bit up here. So you sort of want to build the texture up. Obviously with fur you'd have a lot of different shapes and lengths of fur. I mean not all over, but you know, if you were doing like a tail, they might be a little bit, you could get a little bit sort of more freer, but birds' feathers, they don't tend to have you know, feathers out of place as such, because obviously the feather has the purpose of like locking in and being like, you know, like zipping together. So we're trying to keep our strokes fairly uniform in length. Oh, I just had to change the battery again. I do really love this camera, but you know, if you buy the Sony ZV-1, make sure you've got a few extra batteries. So what I do is just have oh, hang on, I've just swapped out for the blue again. And we just need to darken up a little bit of the areas around the turquoise, and then we'll be almost done for the crown of the head. Yeah, I do think you really need to have batteries you can swap in and swap out. I'm tempted to even buy a couple more actually. That'll be an Amazon purchase. So I'm hoping that you can see your Kingfisher slowly come into life now. Obviously the very beginnings of portraits and drawings do always take the longest. I always find they take a little while to kind of sort of like get into the flow of the drawing. But I think the main bulk should be a little bit quicker. There's a lot of intricate detail here. Put this blue in over here. I'm going to layer teeny tints of this red. Because you remember I said it was like looking a little bit purple over here. Pop a little bit of this red down. And then when we go over with the blue and blend it with the white, we'll lift it to a purpley colour. I've got a few sort of whiter spots in here as well. So I'll just blend this out first. Because the whiter spots are more like a light blue. So pressing a little bit harder now just to sort of mix those two colours together. Ah, oh, tiny bit of blue in there. Ooh, sorry, just knocked over the pencil sharpener. So we want to go in here. So we need to dapple in a few little whiter bits. Oh, kingfishers have got such lovely feathers. And it's nice that the males and the females are so brightly coloured. Girls get a bit of a less, well, girls don't, female birds tend to be, you know, is it called dichromatic when the male and female are different colours? You know, the females are all brown and camouflage looking after the babies, and the men are all colourful. So I wonder if this is a female or a male blackbird. So yeah, we've got like the effect of some sort of lighter bits in there. We'll also use the dark sepia to help us create those bits as well. Push some of this into the orange. Let me just check you're focused. So we're sort of building up those white patches by like shading around them. So it's almost like you're doing the opposite colours. That's how I like to think of it. Okay, right. I think we'll stop there for now, and then in part 2 we'll do the beak and then move down onto the rest of the body. So I really hope you enjoyed doing this little first bit, and yeah, I can't wait to do some more. Right, I shall see you in part 2. Bye bye.